Hi guys, welcome back to When Cathy Colors, and tonight we will be coloring with Aquarelle crayons. These are crayons which melt after you apply water to them, and we will be using two brands. One is Maped Colorpeps Smoothie, and they look like these. They come in 12 colors, and I will also be using Faber Castell Gelatos. These come in a wider range of colors but are a little more expensive than the Mapeds. You will also need some brushes, and I prefer to use synthetic brushes. Either a fine liner or an angle brush will do. You will also need some water to melt the crayons with, and a plastic palette. Tonight we'll be coloring in a book by Zhang. It's called Give Me Some Color. And it's a beautiful book to work with because the pages are really nice and thick. Don't worry, I will be putting the title and the author of this book in the description box below, so if you're interested to find this book, it will be easier for you to find. Something to note about coloring with aquarelle crayons on a coloring book is that you have to check if the pages are thick enough to handle the water and to see if the colors will spread smoothly on it. Now, today we'll be using this page, again from Give Me Some Color by Zhang. And how I always start with is with the flesh tone or the skin tone. Now, if we compare the gelatos with the Maped smoothies, they're very similar. So whichever one that you prefer to work with, that's fine. If you notice, it's quite thick, so it really covers a lot of area really quickly. And a good tip for you guys when you start coloring with these aquarelle crayons is that since they're thick, don't get too hung up on coloring within the lines. It's very easy to fix in case you like color over the lines, and that since we cover a large area very fast, I really wouldn't want to worry about being neat. So here I'm gonna just speed up my progress. I would like to just add the first layer of color during this stage. That means we just want to put like a base color. If you notice, I'm using very light colors for this. And that when I add the water to melt these crayons and blend it out, I don't use a lot of water. I just dab a little bit of on my brush and make sure that I dot off the excess water using some tissues. So see here, I'm just spreading out the color and it melts really well. That's exactly why I like working with these aquarelle crayons. They do come in many different kinds of brands, so it's up to you guys to test them out which you like best. But so far, I've tried these Maped Smoothies and the Faber-Castell Gelatos, as well as Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2, and they're all very similar. They only differ in the number of colors they have, while and sometimes in color brilliance. I've noticed that using lighter colors in the first layer, that's what we are working on now, is the best way to create a really luminous picture. So if you've noticed right now, the leaves, I'm using a yellow ochre so that it will sort of glow once I'm done. And for the other set of leaves, I'm thinking maybe I can do like a blue with it. And you can actually blend colors before you apply the water, and that's how you can achieve a really nice deep effect. So again, when you add the water with your brush, it just takes a little bit of practice knowing just how much water you need, but once you get that mastered, things like this is really a breeze. So once you're done coloring the first layer, that's when we come in and start the second layer, and that's when we add tones and values, or meaning shades and shadows. So since I want to color a small area with a little more precision, I'll be using the Mapeds or the aquarelle crayon, and I will just rub it on my palette so that I can just get the colors with my brush instead. I do add a little bit of water to melt it out, and I use my brush to do smaller strokes for areas which are smaller and need a little bit more accuracy. So here I'm adding just some shadows to her face to add more dimension to it. And what's a really good tip again for coloring is that as soon as you add some new tones to work, it really brings it to life. So here, you can spread it out just like any watercolor medium that you have. It responds well to layering, and by adding a little bit more water, it becomes lighter. So here, I want to add again a tiny detail, so I'm gonna rub it on my palette and pick it up with my wet brush. I want to add it to the eyes, so you can use your brush for things like that. And then we're on to our second layer. For the second layer, I want to add shadows to her hair, so I'll put in some purple where the roots are. And if you guys notice, I don't add so much color anymore to the paper because I only want to get to the areas which are shadowed, and therefore I'll be using the more of the water to push it out. I'll be explaining it in a while after I just do the colors where I think the shadows should go. And I make sure to spread out the color all over the hair because you want it to look unified and continuous. A good tip with these aquarelle crayons is that you don't need a lot of it to make a really good impact on your coloring. So see, small strokes and I'm done. Then all you need to do is add your water. Now, a tip I would give if you want to make sure that all the strokes push the shadows towards where you want it to go, you want to use the shorter end of your brush towards the outer portion, and you want to use the tip towards the part where you want it to be darkest. So I'll do this again another time so you can see. So and again, just spread it out using more water. You can erase it using your brush. And again, you want to make sure that you want the edges of your brush lined up to where you want the shadows to go. That way it's a little easier for you to blend it out. So again, the shorter end away from the part which are darker and the pointy end towards the darker side. So it's very easy. It's like blending out your foundation or your makeup at home. And just like that, we can make an illusion like it's more curved for her hair. So I just do this technique all throughout the page. And it's really easy. Another tip that I can give you guys, if you're doing detailed areas, you just use your pinky and park it on the paper. And that way your hand is stabilized and it doesn't shake around when you're working on it. It's very useful not only in coloring but also in a lot of other painting projects and coloring projects. So see how the water just spreads out that beautiful purple on her hair, and I just go along and color the little parts separately for the second layer. I do this because I've noticed through trial and error that if you leave the page alone before adding the water to it, the aquarelle does dry out and it sort of sets. What I mean when it sets is that when you apply water to it, it doesn't melt anymore. So if you plan to walk away from your project, just make sure that you don't apply the crayon first, or that after you leave it, that you've already applied the water to it. So here I'm just adding shades where I think the shadow should go. I don't use a lot of it because if you notice, the water does spread it out. I use some dark greens and dark blues, and the second or third layer are usually the areas which are the darkest. So I usually do the background last. And here we go, just like that, we have a finished page almost. If you guys want to learn more about coloring and different tips and tricks for different kinds of media and materials, do check out my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please check out my Instagram at whencathycolors. and my Facebook page, When Cathy Colors. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you again next time. Bye!